In this lesson, we're going to be using the pencil tool to create ink outlines for our sketch. In our last lesson, we used the blob brush and we were able to create some really nice illustrations, but now we're going to use the pencil tool and just take a look at the different things that we can do with it. So if you don't have the pencil tool already selected, hit N on your keyboard, and that will show up in your tools which one is selected. Now let's click and hold, and we have lots of different tools that are hiding underneath there. We have a smooth tool, a path eraser tool, and a join tool. And if you hit this little panel that has the arrow, then it'll actually pull out all those tools so that we don't have to come back and click and hold. We'll just choose these tools because we're going to be using all of them in this lesson. Now we also want to make sure that we have the settings where we want them for this pencil tool. So let's go ahead and double click, and that will show us our pencil tool options. For our fidelity, we have it's very similar to the paintbrush, and maybe some differences are that we don't have pressure settings, because with the pencil tool we only have the option of having a 1-point stroke and a uniform stroke. And even if we were to change this up, so I'll come back to this later, but for our pencil tool options, for our example, we want to keep our paths selected, and we also want to edit those selected paths. We're not going to choose this option to have the Alt key toggle to the smooth tool, because there's another option for the pencil tool that we're going to use that will actually be disabled if we have this selected. And we're not going to be using a fill. So even though I have this white selected, it's not going to fill up our stroke once we draw it. So let's hit OK. Now remember, I was saying that if we have the stroke, something different. So let's have maybe even 12-point for our stroke, and instead of uniform, maybe we'll have something like that. But when I start to draw, it's only 1 point instead of uniform, because that is the default setting, and we can't predetermine what that tool is going to do. So let's go ahead, and we're going to start by drawing the robot head. And so let's just start in this corner, and we'll just drag. And when we get to that corner, I'm actually going to just kind of stop for a second, and then continue, and then stop and continue. And this will help me have a nice angle instead of a curved point. And then you can see that my icon now has a circle. That's letting me know that if I let go, it's going to close up that path. Very nice. So now we have some nice angles for our robot's head. And if I need to redraw anything, remember I have on that setting, I have the keep selected and then edit selected. That means that you can see my icon has an asterisk next to it. If I draw, I'm going to make a new path. But if I'm over here next to the path, you can see that goes away. That means that I can edit this path if I needed to. Just like that. And so maybe I want to try and straighten this out. Well, maybe instead of trying to curve this, let's use the smooth tool. So with that path selected, I can just kind of click and drag, and it's going to redraw that line and just try and smooth it out for me, which is very, very handy. Very nice. All right. So now that we're happy with the robot's helmet, let's call it, I want to draw the rest of these lines down here. And so even though I have that still selected, I'm not going to edit that path if I can see an asterisk. And so I'm going to go ahead and draw this jaw down here. And I'm going to remember to stop and pause. And then let's just finish out this shape. And then when we get to the end here, maybe I get a little off target, and I accidentally draw my path, and instead of joining, maybe I go a little bit too far. Well, I have this awesome tool called a join tool, and if I just kind of scrub over those extra lines, you can see that I am able to get rid of that excess and join that path, which is very, very cool. Now I do want to redraw this little part of the jaw though, so I'm going to hold Control to make sure that path is selected, and then I'm just going to click and draw and try and shape up that path, and then I'm going to smooth out some of these other little points over here. just like that. Awesome. All right. And so now what I would like to do is I'm going to deselect. So I can come up and hit select and deselect, or it's Control Shift All. And I'm going to draw some lines down here for his face. So I'm going to grab my pencil tool. And remember, Alt, before, if I have it selected, Alt will toggle to the Smooth tool. But if I don't have it selected and I hold Alt, I can actually draw a straight line. So you can see my icon, what it looks like. It just looks like a straight line when I press it. So I'm just going to draw some straight lines here to finish up his face. And then I'm going to use the pencil tool, and I'm just going to draw some eyes over here. And then come over here and draw an eye. Great. Now again, if I want to smooth that out a little bit, I can do that. Now let's say though that I have my pencil tool and I'm trying to redraw this eye, but I get a little carried away again. Now the join tool is not going to help me for this instance because there's nothing that it is joined with, or a path that can be closed up or anything like that. But I do have this other tool called the Path Eraser. And I can easily just kind of click and drag over some of my path to get rid of a little bit of excess if I have to. Or, for this example, it's not really applicable, but if I wanted to maybe just come through here, and you can see I just kind of drew a line through this little point. Well, what happens is it can actually delete any points that I want. So now I could just come and click that part and get rid of it if I wanted to, and then get my pencil tool, select it by holding Control and tapping it, and then I could finish out that line. Awesome. So just kind of in combination with all these tools, you can create some really cool or just have some control over your lines that you've drawn. And you can see that we're able to join lines and to kind of pull lines apart, and we're also able to edit and smooth them out just by using all these little options here with the pencil tool. Now in our next lesson, we're going to be adding some variation to these lines because right now they're all just one point and very uniform. So go ahead and stick around, and we'll be using our width tool.